Hi my friends, so we are here for another video. Today's video is about 2 techniques that are going to bring you healing. Quick disclaimer, these 2 techniques are not going to work for everybody. If one of them doesn't work, the other might, and some of them work better in conjunction. I'm going to be telling you this video in conjunction. So you do one and then you do the other, okay? But feel free, this is your own life. You can pick and choose whichever one you want to do. A lot of people have been kind of repeating the same patterns of healing and trying to break something, break a bad habit, become a better version of themselves, break an addiction, and it's just not working for them, right? So what it's all about is trying different things. And if you've kind of tried a lot of things and it's just not working for you, try these 2 techniques and you can see how that goes. Some of us have an actual real addiction. Some of us are addicted to drugs. Some of us are addicted to activities. Some of us are addicted to people, a certain feeling. I'm not an addiction specialist or counselor. This is just because I know that when you have an addiction, you're not really addicted to that substance or that thing. You're addicted to the feeling that is associated with it, the feeling that it causes you, the feeling that it makes you have. What normally people do with addiction is they're like, okay, well, stop doing it. Okay, well, where's the dopamine in that, right? So stop doing it. Oh my gosh, well, this is a bunch giving me dopamine. This stopping it is not really going to do anything for me. It's good for me, but I don't really feel the motivation to do it. That's the whole point, is you try because you want better. So the first one is a little bit more risky than the second one. Not in a risky way where it's kind of dangerous, but it can be. You know yourself best and you know your addiction or bad habit best. So if this is something that, okay, well, this does not work for this, okay? Sometimes this just does not work, then don't do it. This can be dangerous for some people, right? This can be triggering, but this technique is called aversion therapy. Most of you have probably heard of aversion therapy. Aversion therapy is becoming so familiar with something that it makes you sick. With this first one, I want you guys to use this one with safe things, not things that are going to kill you. So don't use this with extreme drugs and stuff like that. Just use these with things that you know, okay, well, maybe if I really expose myself to this, it's going to make me sick. Like, I'm going to be sick of this. So that's what aversion therapy is when you expose yourself to it so much, or you just do it so much that you build or create an aversion to it. This technique only works for some people. Again, a reminder, a disclaimer, don't think I'm telling everybody to do this, because this, like I said, can be dangerous. But with the people that feel like this works for them, like it could possibly work for them, and that their bad habit or addiction is not too harmful, okay, and it's safe enough to try this, then I would say go ahead and try this. Like I said in the disclaimer, I'm not an addictions counselor or guidance counselor or specialist by any means. So try this all at your own risk. This is just the things that have worked for me. I'm just sharing my own experiences. Okay, so moving forward. So immersing yourself in this thing. We're exposing ourselves to something, okay? We're doing that thing or engaging in that thing so much so that it's going to make us sick. Let's say there's a friend that you don't want to be your friend anymore. You hang out with her once a week. Let's say it's like once a month, and you just feel so bad about it. You're just like, you just feel like this is not the friend for you, but you're still like hung up on this friend group and this whatever. It's like a bad habit that you hang out with her, or a addiction if you have it bad enough to this friend group or this person. It could be anything. It's mostly, sometimes when it goes into addiction, it's more into like a significant partner, a significant other, because that significant other is a trigger for them, and then that's like satisfying a need, and then it's producing a certain feeling. Let's say it's a person, okay? When you're exposed to it, you already are aware that this person is kind of something that you want to avoid, something this is an addiction, this is a bad habit. You already identified that, okay? So you know that. Now you just need to solidify that, make it absolutely sickening, because there's something that's keeping you there. There's something that it's still serving. There's a purpose that's still serving for you, and that's the reason why you haven't fully left yet, because you're still getting some type of something out of it. You need to make that experience of being with that person feel none of that, no good, okay? So the way that we do that is overexposure. Overexposure to the point where you feel sick. You feel so disgusted with this person, you feel so disgusted with, you're putting yourself in the situation so much that you're kind of sick of it. Now, you're no longer getting any type of dopamine from it. Like, you're just plain sick of it, and now you feel disgusted. So sometimes it's really these experiences, and sometimes they happen without you even knowing. Sometimes you're like, cool, I was exposed to this weight, like this is the final straw, right? This crosses the line. That's what really helps people stop something, is when they have this horrible experience. So I'm not saying you have to force yourself to have a horrible experience, but force yourself enough to have enough bad, where it's like, it's reminding you, just get out of this, right? This is kind of like a last resort for people that cannot leave or cannot stop this bad habit or addiction from just the standard techniques, right? So this is definitely something that is controversial, to say the least. So if you don't feel comfortable with this, don't do it. It's a technique that really can work, especially for people that want to get out, want to get away from this thing, but they just can't. They don't have that internal motivation for it, right? Because this will really push you and motivate you to leave, because you're going to be exposed to it so much that you're going to be like, you're going to get that sense of bad that I want it to go so much more, so much stronger, because it's so overexposed in a way. That's where you build an aversion to it. This segments into the next strategy or technique, which is exposure therapy. So exposure therapy is typically like where you're exposed to things. So you're scared of spiders, you expose yourself to the spiders, and now you're not scared of spiders because you're like, oh, it's not as scary as I thought, right? The exposure therapy I'm talking about, or the exposure technique that I'm talking about right now, is exposing yourself to the opposite. This is kind of a technique that I have seen work for me, because, okay, let's go back to the person example. There's a person, let's say it could be a significant other, or it could be a friend. Now, the exposure technique that I'm talking about is where you expose yourself to the opposite. So maybe this person is abusive, or this person is so toxic, whatever toxic means to you. And now you go and see something completely different. You go hang out with maybe your sister's friend group, and they are so different. They're like the complete opposite of your friend group or your significant partner or whatever, and it's just exposing you to something different, exposing you to the possibilities. Okay, let's say it's a bad habit. I want to go into another example because this is where it's really going to help. Let's say you have a bad habit, and that bad habit is unhealthy eating, just not taking care of yourself. It's not really a bad habit. It's kind of just a bad lifestyle, okay? So your addiction is your addiction to a bad, unhealthy lifestyle. Addicted to just eating garbage, treating yourself like garbage, whatever, okay? Now, the exposure technique I want you to use for this is exposing yourself to the opposite. Forcing yourself in situations where the opposite is true and the opposite is occurring. Like the opposite is reality. So put yourself into realities and places, environments, and around certain people where the opposite is now their reality. So people that are working out consistently every day. Maybe that means getting yourself a membership, 1 month membership, to really expensive gym. To a gym where everybody is like serious about working out and the people there really take care of themselves. You want an emotional reaction from yourself. You want like an, oh my gosh, type of thing. You want like a wake up call. That's what I'm trying to invoke, is this emotional, like stunned reaction of like, oh my gosh, there is better out there. This is possible. And this is something I want to work towards. That is what I want for you guys from this exposure therapy, this exposure technique. I don't want to say therapy because then I don't want to go into like therapeutics. It's not that. It's kind of just an exposure technique, exposing yourself to the opposite. And sometimes you have to put on a face, like you just pretend for one day. You just get that super expensive gym membership Maybe it's just like a 1-day pass or something at a really expensive area or thing, or maybe you go to a super high class restaurant or something where you're just exposed to the complete opposite of what you've been doing, and that just gives you this huge shift and sense of like, this is so possible, and this is so much more exciting to chase than this high from this low, from these bad habits, from this bad lifestyle, unhealthy lifestyle. It's controversial, but it's simple. And what this really boils down to is getting out of your comfort zone, because we stay where we're comfortable, and there's no growth in the comfort zone. If you're not getting uncomfortable, then it's really hard to have like some monumental moments of change and shifting, because you're never putting yourself in those situations. You're never giving yourself the opportunity to grow, or the opportunity to have a new insight, have new knowledge, or gain something, have a shift in perspective. It's all about exposure. It's all about removing yourself from your comfort zone, like breaking out of that. It's all about invoking new emotional reactions, a new emotional response. You want to invoke some neuroplasticity of like, this is possible. Oh, this is really, really not where I want to be. That's what I want from this video for you guys. I really don't want to push you into something super traumatic or something very triggering. Like I stressed, don't do this if you don't feel comfortable. But you can do this in small doses and in small amounts, with just exposing yourself to factors and things outside of your comfort zone slowly. Obviously, if you're watching this video, you have some type of motivation and drive to change, and you have some type of inkling that you need to, and you probably have an idea of what it is that is the bad habit or the addiction that you want to try these techniques with. The best thing is to plan it out, write it out. You can just talk about it with yourself in your head or out loud with somebody else, and just kind of think and play with the idea of exposing yourself to different and new things, and outside your comfort zone, the opposite, exposing yourself to what you want, and then overexposing yourself to what you don't want, and just reminding yourself why you don't want this. You just go on a plane ride, visit your family member from across the country that you forgot about, and then you're like, I don't want to end up like them. And it kind of scares you. You were overexposed to it. You saw like what horrendous things happen with marriages where people don't love each other and are not virtuous to each other. You saw that, and now you're like, oh my gosh, I don't want anything to do with that. Sometimes it just takes an experience of exposure to just push you far away from it. And sometimes this doesn't work. Like I said, it's not going to work for everybody. And sometimes you just have to keep trying, or you have to try different things, right? Try different combinations, try it in different ways. I'm making this, again, based on what has helped me in the past. People in my life, I'm not going to specify who, but when you hang out with them enough, you're like, this is getting weirder and grosser, and I just don't want anything to do with this. I don't want to be in this, around this, anywhere near this, because you've overexposed yourself to it. Before, when you've seen little like bits, it's really hard to kind of detach, because you're like, well, it's not that bad. Once you now expose yourself, immerse yourself in it, then you're like, oh my gosh, well, this is really bad. Or, you know what, I don't want anything to do with this. Like, this doesn't make me feel good, right? The more you feel sick about it, the more you're not going to want to be anywhere near that. So that's some of the things that you can learn from this. That's some of the things you can get from this. That is what I have gotten in my personal experience. Well, let me know what you guys think in the comments on this video. Then also the Q&A video. So write your comments in the description for the Q&A video. If you have any questions in general about anything about health, self-development, lifestyle, anything pertaining to type of the content I have on my channel, then write them in the description. I will answer them for you guys in my Q&A video. I keep saying description. Write them in the comments, and you can also send them to me on my Instagram as well. And if you guys want to do health coaching with me, just click the link in my description. Currently, I'm just doing one-on-one sessions, but I am going to be opening up a group coaching session where we'd have a group of people, and then we'd all meet together, and then we kind of build a community off of there, and you guys can learn from each other. So If you're interested in group coaching, just let me know. I can add you to the waiting list. We're going to be opening up that eventually. And then if you're just looking for one-on-one coaching, you can sign up in my description, the link in my description. Okay, so thank you guys for watching. I will see you guys in the next video.